It has not been a good 6 months at the Melbourne Football Club. Another straight sets exit in finals showed the potential of the team, but also its flaws. The worst part is, the two losses to Collingwood and Carlton are the least of the club's issues right now. It felt like everyone could see the tip of the iceberg at Melbourne, and now we can see the glacier of problems that is causing severe damage to their reputation. The fact is, the whirlwind that is in front of us began in 2021 in plain sight, but we'll get to that a bit later. Maybe the biggest kick to the guts hasn't been the behaviour of players, but the retirement of Angus Brayshaw. He is a classic heart and soul player who, after a slow start to his career, was actually very durable. He was team first, critical in the premiership win, playing on the wing, but that concussion in the qualifying final medically put an end to his career due to experts' recommendations. It could inspire the club or flatten them more, such has been the impact he's had at the D's.
This match against the Hawks that Joel Smith booted 2 goals.
He's had more than his fair share of challenges to deal with Joel Smith.
It can now be revealed a urine test taken immediately after the match found traces of a banned substance, allegedly cocaine.
It was a horror way to start the pre-season. Finally, after some solid play up forward, Joel Smith got caught. He wasn't the first, but it's still a rare event, and drugs and football combined makes front page news no matter how big a name the player is. But once again, this was the tip of the iceberg. Smith's AFL career is probably over now, as he will need to fight accusations of drug trafficking that came out last week. Sports Integrity Australia discovered text messages on his phone where Smith was offering cocaine to Melbourne teammates. It was further revealed one of the charges was due to possession of cocaine on September 9th, 2022, a year before he tested positive after the Hawthorn match. The 4 added charges are on top of his original positive test, and all the matters will be heard by an AFL anti-doping hearing. But the reality is, the damage has been done in the public eye. Whether those Melbourne teammates the messages are related to come under fire is still up in the air.
2023, Clayton Oliver suffers a seizure which requires him to be taken to Footscray Hospital. He's in the company of Joel Smith that evening. I don't know what that is. I'm not trying to read anything into that, but, you know, there are obvious things that you could think about were going on that night between the two of those blokes.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I got kids and it was midweek.
Discussed at any point in clubland?
Well, this is off season, and they're great friends. And I'm only going off by facts. Clayton had a seizure and went to Footscray Hospital that night.
Smith's good friend and AFL star Clayton Oliver has been one of the more stranger implosions of all time. He was always seen as a little different, but in a funny way, and his play on field earned him huge respect. But it went awry mid-2023. The never-ending hamstring injury was questioned by some in the media, and Mark Robinson wrote in the Herald Sun that his overall situation is one of the most complicated ever. In the off-season, the club even thought of trading Clary after directly questioning his professionalism. He then had the aforementioned medical episode related to ADHD medication in early October. A month later, he was caught driving with a suspended license due to the medical incident, and on December 18th, he was sent home and took leave from training. It's been a wild circus of events. He is back now and played well against Richmond in the VFL practice match. But with him being back, his character and future is still unclear. He moved in with Max Gawn for a period of time, and although Gawn laughed about it, it shows how deep these issues are.
He's going better. Clayton and I have been through a strong little 24-month period here. He bunked into me for a couple of weeks, felt like a couple of years, but it was a couple of weeks.
Load the dishwasher.
Yeah. And look, I said this yesterday as well. I'm starting to turn my opinion on where I sit with Clayton. As a captain, we've had a tough relationship, but I'm starting to get really inspired. He has gone through some strong mental health stuff. He's been in and around some crossroads. He's stuffed up, and he's owned up to a lot of those stuffing ups. He's lied to me. He's told the truth. He's done everything he can do in a little period. But you can see how hard he is working.
Even with the way Gawn is speaking overall, it feels like a man who was tired and drained well before the brutal AFL season begins. It's a key point in all of this. The singular actions, specifically by Smith and Oliver, have heavy repercussions for everyone associated with them. It also creates rumour after rumour, which I won't get into, but all that also adds to the severity of the problems and cloudiness that is now hovering around the club. Gawn has denied there is a drug culture at the club in every interview he has done, but never has said he's gone out of his way to look for one and address it. But could all of this have been prevented long before? This is where the leaked documents from the Melbourne Football Club board come into focus. They can help tell the background story of turning a blind eye to concerning behaviour. If you give a man an inch, he'll take a mile. Before 2021, leaked documents of a board meeting held on the 11th of March show discussions around coach Simon Goodwin and his position at the club. The direct quote from the Herald Sun reads, "The 5-hour board meeting focused on steps to be taken in the event Goodwin needed to be removed if the team performed badly, if his alleged off-field behaviour blows up, or if he was unable to cope with the pressures of the job." The meeting was held after Dr. Zishan Arain was sacked, and a raft of rumours focusing on Goodwin's drinking, gambling and bullying behaviour. Weeks before the meeting, then President Glenn Bartlett and Vice President Mohan Jesudason met with AFL CEO Gillan McLachlan and Richard Goyer to discuss Goodwin's behaviour. During that meeting, McLachlan detailed his own knowledge of Goodwin's drinking and gambling at Sorrento Hotel and encouraged Bartlett to remove the coach and Pert if required, read the Herald Sun. In the meeting, the board did discuss scenario planning for Goodwin's position, but they agreed to back him in for 2021, although clearly questions still lingered. GB reiterated his strong view that the coach should not be dismissed on performance grounds in the middle of the season, but behaviours and capacity remain watching areas for Simon Goodwin. A discussion was held as to supporting Simon Goodwin and continually ensuring he is fit for work. Going back to Dr. Arain, who received a 6-figure payout from the club after filing an unlawful dismissal claim, was described as a whistleblower in December 2020 by President Bartlett. According to the board memo, Dr. Arain told the club, "One staff member and one player directly spoke to me that they know firsthand Goodwin had serious lifestyle issues. Melbourne has continuously denied issues with Goodwin, and he himself has revealed his frustration, but it goes a level deeper. President Bartlett was in the March 11 meeting discussing Goodwin's position, but a month later, he was the one who was forced out." Bartlett was pushing for the establishment of an illicit drugs working group to be implemented at the club. In the March 11 meeting, he was vocal on the fact he believed the club's illicit drugs policy needs to be improved. For the months previous his departure, he had been advocating for hair testing for all his staff, including the coaches. According to detailed notes of conversation, Bartlett was told the decision had been made on the basis of an unnamed supporter group that was planning to challenge the club's board at the end of the season. Bartlett was shocked when he was told a board meeting would be called if he didn't stand down. His reply is a great insight into the deep concerns he had at the time. "You blokes don't know what tough is. This is disgraceful in terms of our club's values of unity, trust and respect. You have got the trifecta there, the absolute trifecta. It will do a hell of a lot of damage to the club." On April 11th, Bartlett announced he would stand down.
And you can't be, if I look tired, it's because I am. And I need to hand the baton and let my successor and a refreshed board build on the stability, the values, the various initiatives in play. And I have to have a proper break, focus on some hobbies, enjoy the game, which I love, with my boys, which I've loved since I was 4 or 5 years old.
It was portrayed nearly as a succession plan, and due to personal reasons. The text messages and leaks paint a different picture. But guess what happened in 2021? Melbourne went all the way to the top. They won the grand final in style, and all the issues in late 2020 and early 2021 were forgotten. 3 years later, we sit here. What a complex situation that is ahead of the Melbourne Football Club. Maybe Melbourne made a deal with the devil for that flag. Culture is a strange thing in sport with so many definitions around it. Would a bunch of players on drugs that win be deemed good culture? How about a really solid group of 40 players who behave well but can't win? Is that a losing culture? That's why no one can answer if the Demons' culture is good or bad. 90% could be fine, but 10% may be out of line. Only they know. But all we have detailed in this video show the discussion of possible issues with behaviour began late in 2020. They got rid of the president who wanted to initiate stronger drug protocols, went to the AFL CEO to discuss Goodwin's behaviour, and in 2022, Joel Smith allegedly had an illicit substance with him. That's what is in front of us all, and you can decide what to make of it. This is a delicate situation for a club on the field that has performed very well, but off the field has deep problems. Serious upfront conversations have to be had because the glacier we see now might look like another tip of the iceberg in a few months' time.